With the release of Deadpool and Wolverine, which is an awesome movie by the way, at the time I'm recording this, I found this information out yesterday. Marvel just made 4 giant announcements at Comic-Con, which has so many people talking, and it's something I just can't not make a video about. The first announcement is the 2 official Avengers movies, and these are the same movies that we saw in the past that Marvel tried to release in the same year, Avengers 5 and 6, Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. The first movie is Avengers 5, now called Avengers Doomsday, that will be released in May 2026, and then Avengers 6, Avengers Secret Wars, that will be released in May 2027. And the last final announcement, which correlates to Avengers Doomsday, is it is now confirmed to be directed by the Russo brothers. Yes, the same ones that made Captain America Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. But not only that, Robert Downey Jr. has officially returned to play Doctor Doom. Yeah, I wasn't kidding when I said that these announcements are huge. Man, and right after we get Deadpool 3 too. Alright, well, there's a lot to talk about, so let's just get into it. I think the main one is Robert Downey Jr. coming back to play Doctor Doom. Now, Doctor Doom is one of the popular world threats to the Avengers, and he is a super cool and good and interesting villain. So having Robert Downey Jr., who played the main Iron Man in the MCU, to return and play as a villain is super cool, and I'm honestly down for it. Now, I have seen a lot of people asking, like, why is this a thing, and saying that Marvel is just desperate right now and that they need him to bring themselves back. Now, look, let's be honest, even after Endgame, Robert Downey Jr. wasn't done with Marvel. Like, sure, he was taking a break for a while, but completely done with Marvel? Come on now, like, I knew that wasn't going to be the case for a long time, even after I watched Endgame in theaters. Same thing with Chris Evans as well. I think it's just no surprise because he was going to return regardless at some point. Just for what reason? To play a villain, and that's really good. He played the hero, now he gets to play one of the biggest villains in Marvel. And honestly, I think it's going to be interesting because it is stated that he will be playing a variant, so it's not going to be the Tony Stark from the movies that we know. It's going to be a completely new character. Doctor Doom is such a cool villain, and I like him a lot, and I am genuinely hooked to see how Robert is going to handle this role. But that also kind of leads into the next topic I want to talk about, Avengers 5, or Avengers Doomsday. Now, before, Avengers 5 was called the Kang Dynasty, but after the big situation with Jonathan Majors, now things have changed, and now it's Avengers Doomsday, which leads into the topic of Kang. What are we gonna do with him? Are we just completely cutting him from the universe? Because I don't really want that to happen, nor do I think it's a good idea with all this build-up from Ant-Man 3 and the hinting Loki has. And plus, Kang in the MCU is such an interesting and cool character, and a really interesting villain. This is where I can see why people are having their doubts with Avengers 5 and 6, because its initial villain was Kang, but now it seems to be Doom. It's gonna make people question if Marvel really knows what they're doing, because this is kind of looking like the same situation with Captain America Brave New World that had to deal with name changes and a bunch of reshoots and just going back to the drawing board and kind of just starting over in a few areas. Still hyped for that movie though, not gonna lie. But back to my main question, what are we gonna do with Kang and Doctor Doom? 2024 is halfway through, and then we only have a year and a few months till Doomsday. How are you going to manage to build up Doctor Doom as a character and develop him in time for the movie? I mean, you could do a similar build-up thing with Thanos with the end credits scene, but the problem is you've been doing that already, but with Kang. And the movies in the Infinity Saga almost always relate to Thanos in some way. Thanos had way more build-up and situations revolved around him than the amount of time Doctor Doom will have by the time Doomsday releases. This is the sole reason why I think the dates listed for these movies are definitely gonna be changed, because it is still really soon and they have a lot to work on before they can even focus on these movies. But then again, we have to look at Secret Wars as well. I don't have much to say about Secret Wars, except I love the comics, and that's the movie I'm definitely the most hyped up for because of the possibilities and many things this movie can do, which can make it the best Avengers movie yet. But if we look at the comics of Secret Wars, the villains include Doctor Doom and Kang the Conqueror. So another question raises, is Marvel planning on making Kang and Doctor Doom as kind of like a duo big bad of these Avengers movies? If they do, I mean, that could work, but are we going to focus on Kang anymore? There have been a lot of talks about Doctor Doom replacing Kang, which I hope Marvel doesn't do that, because then all of what Loki and Ant-Man built up, all of the major hints to something much bigger and deadlier, is going to go all to waste, and I don't really think that's a good idea for that to happen. And that's just kind of the problem with not knowing any info about these movies, because there are just only questions and guesses, and we won't know for sure until time passes. So we can only make theories based on what we know and feel. However, I do still have hope for these movies because the Russo brothers are back to direct them. I definitely have faith that they're going to make this movie work, but Marvel also needs to do their part as well. I don't really know. This whole thing is kind of confusing because I can possibly see them making this work, but what's coming out next year again? Captain America Brave New World, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, Blade, and I think Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse? I only see Fantastic Four covering Doctor Doom, which I doubt is going to be enough to build up for Doomsday, but I also heard that Galactus might be the villain for that movie, so it might be possible Doctor Doom won't even be in that. Take that with a grain of salt though. For shows, we have Daredevil, I think Ironheart is still being made, and I think that's it. So it feels like everything except Beyond the Spider-Verse and Fantastic Four will most likely just cover up personal character introductions or arcs. So there's not going to be much build-up for Doctor Doom that will lead into Doomsday, which makes me believe that they're definitely going to have to push back the dates. Now, don't get me wrong, I am hyped for these movies, but it's also raising questions, and it kind of feels like back when they announced these two Avengers movies, it feels like they're not really thinking about the dates with a level head, and I believe eventually we will see date changes sooner within the next couple months or possibly days. And that's the thing, Feige and Marvel, like, they're not dumb. It's not like they can just ignore the feedback from fans and critics in the state of the MCU right now and not have that in mind when thinking about these future movies and release dates and making announcements like these. Deadpool and Wolverine should have been the wake-up call for Marvel. I mean, there are a few movies that should have been wake-up calls, but it's better late than never, I guess. You can't just release Deadpool 3 and then look at the next projects of Marvel the same considering the success of this movie. If the past movies somehow didn't wake you up, then this movie, out of every other one, should have been the one to show that. There's no way you can look at the past projects and current state of the MCU, then release something like Deadpool 3, and then look into these movies and castings the same again. There's no way. You gotta make movies just as fun, meaningful, and well crafted as Deadpool 3. Despite these past few projects and shows, I fully believe Marvel can still come back and make amazing projects again because they have shown time and time again that they can definitely produce amazing stuff. They just need to take time and actually focus on quality. That's it. It's really simple. They've been told this by the fans for a couple of years now, and if this movie doesn't wake them up, then I don't know what will at this point. I'm excited for these projects. I am happy, but not surprised that Robert Downey Jr. is back, but I do have my questions, doubts, and worries. Let me know what you all think of this news below, and I'll make sure to respond to you. Thank you all so much for watching, and have an amazing day or night. See ya.